Hello, and welcome to a very special episode of Music Ally Focus. I'm Music Ally's editor, Joe Sparrow, and we're warmly welcoming to the show this week Godwin Tom and Elizabeth Shabowali to talk about developing the next generation of music industry executives in Africa. Now, they oversee Music Business Academy for Africa, a training program that aims to do, well, exactly that, train the next generation of music industry talent. Godwin is CEO of I Manage Africa, which has developed this program in partnership with Music Ally and Dr. Carlos Chirinos of the Music Business Department at the New York University. And Elizabeth is Program Director of Music Business Academy for Africa itself. The Academy runs between July and November 2022, and the program will teach students about a range of music business trends and technologies, as well as giving them hands-on experience, releasing and promoting music, and creating sustainable careers for local artists. So we wanted to talk to Elizabeth and Godwin about the changes they've seen in the African markets, the kind of training and education that they provide, which is needed to develop the people who work in the industries there, and their thoughts on the future of the African music industry and the music itself. It's a really interesting conversation, so let's hop over and speak to them now. So we're very pleased to welcome both Godwin Tom and Elizabeth Shabowali to the Music Ally Focus podcast. Hello to you both. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Now, I'm really pleased you could talk to us. There's been a rapid growth in the various African music markets in recent years, with a lot of attention from all over the world in this incredibly exciting series of markets. And there's a few important things all happening at once. An explosion of artistic talent that's getting international success. There's a huge expansion of the necessary technical infrastructure in and around the music industry, and as well a growing community of skilled people to grow that industry. Now, we wanted to talk to you, Elizabeth and Godwin, about the sort of that latter part, which is what have those recent changes been in growing that community of skilled people? What has it been like to experience that growth of the community and the infrastructure firsthand? And what work you believe can and should be done to develop a large, robust, and well-informed generation of music entrepreneurs? So before we get onto that, perhaps you can introduce yourselves and tell us about your backgrounds, what you've done, where you're based, and what you do.
I'm Elizabeth Shabowali. I started off as a talent/brand manager in the industry about 8 years ago. I've worked in various projects in and outside of the continent for about 8 years now, from just management to tour management, publishing, record label, all of those things. I've executed projects in various sectors. I started my own agency, which is a brand and talent management agency, last year, and also started a master's degree in African Studies at SOAS, School of Oriental and African Studies. And the main reason why I wanted to do that for me was because I felt like, our industry was getting to a place where we now needed to be informed and empowered in a different way than we were before. We've been able to survive and we have great talent coming out of Africa, but for me, I felt like I needed to equip myself with the right knowledge and information to help to amplify and develop the industry in Africa. So I started my master's last year, and then I was also speaking to Godwin at the same time because he was doing the second edition of Music Business Africa. So Godwin had asked me to be on the board last year. So I, spent the year kind of just observing, overseeing what he was doing, advising where I could, but also learning from him and learning from the students as well. So I was fortunate enough to be able to take some of the sessions on last year. And then this year, we've decided to really work together, and I'm now the new program director. I'm super passionate about what Godwin is doing to help in developing and helping young music entrepreneurs on the continent. And for me, it's like, 6-7 years ago, if I had someone like Godwin and I had Music Business Academy, I would have been able to make the right decisions. And, I've had to learn whilst working, and sometimes it hasn't been easy. But I'm grateful that this platform exists now that can educate other people and help them to be the best music entrepreneur that we need on the continent.
Well, congratulations on your appointment, and of course that experience sounds ideal for what you're doing. So that's great, and congratulations, Godwin, for bringing.
Yeah, we're lucky. We're lucky. Um, yeah. So my name is Godwin Tom. I have been working in the industry for the last 19 years, about 20 years now. Initially as an artist, that didn't work out, and then I started managing artists 13 years ago. And over the years, I've worked with Mi, Jesse Jaggs, Wizkid, Ice Prince, Wande Cole, a bunch of people. But I think one of the things that I discovered as I grew in business was I couldn't find staff. I couldn't find people to work in the company. And every time I found one, I had to train them all over again. And then that led to my next discovery, which was as much as I trained people, I realized that they still had to interact with the industry and the industry wasn't informed. So my staff and my team members were struggling because when the things I was teaching was contrary to what people were doing outside. So we decided to take on that challenge of going outside and educating more people, just initially to reduce my stress. But it became obvious how badly people needed it. And so we started doing these things I started with an internship program, which is how I found staff. And then it morphed into a talent management training program, which has then become the academy now. In terms of the growth the industry has seen, I think one of the major things that I would say is, technology has played a very important role, connecting us. Initially, when I was managing artists, when I started, our music takes about 3 months to get to the UK and then maybe another year to get to the US. Now it gets in really quickly. So that's one really important development because now the artist can actually make money. Two, initially in the UK, for example, most Africans preferred to be Jamaican for a very long time. They were not African, they were not Nigerian, they were not Ghanaian, they were Jamaican. Yeah. But with the growing diaspora, what we've seen is more Africans are identifying as Africans, and that has opened up new opportunities for local artists, Nigerian artists, to go to the UK, for example, and tour or do shows. Whether it's a 1,000 venue event or it's a 20,000 capacity event. But the idea is the diaspora is growing, and that has helped. And it's been amazing to see that. But also, I think one of the major things that we've seen is even with the diaspora growing, we've seen the music travel really fast into markets that we didn't think we could even touch. And that is opening doors. But that then presents a new problem because as fast as the music is traveling, the business needs to travel as fast. And that's why education is the best way to fix that problem. We need more people educated and informed about how this business runs.
Just from what Godwin was saying about just the diaspora helping the music to travel, I think that's what, it's been great to see. But we've also noticed that there's a lack of messaging traveling. So it's like, what is the actual structure that we have in Africa? As much as the music is traveling, we need to also build our local systems to ensure that the business is also moving along with the music. And that's what I think, we're trying to do here.
And that's an interesting point, isn't it? Because you've gone from a situation where it took a long time for the music to travel, and now the music travels faster than you can build the infrastructure and the community around it to get it there in its best possible way, which is what you are doing, I guess. And we will talk in a second about the Music Business Academy for Africa and your work around building that new generation of entrepreneurs and the education you're doing. But first, perhaps we can just continue what you were touching on there about this. Well, you started from the perspective of the explosive growth and the connectivity of the diaspora with music in Africa, which has been a remarkable thing to see in the last few years. But from the perspective then of where you are, you've observed the African music industries, and they're all very slightly different, but they've undergone rapid change in however you look at it, whether it's structural, technological, everything. It's been fantastic to watch. So can you sort of sum up what those recent changes have been on the music industry side, and then how that is affecting what you're trying to do?
Well, I think the first thing is, one of the things in terms of how the music industry is morphing is we've realized that we actually have structure in Africa. The challenge is we keep trying to copy and paste the structures in the US or in the UK. And that's why a lot of labels, majors are struggling. Because when you train, there are people who have a way of breaking music here, and it's just really informal. The moment we're able to actually see that that structure exists and then begin to monetize it and ensure that there are people who are responsible for certain processes, we will start to build our own system and understand. So if somebody from the UK or America or where else comes to Nigeria and they say, this is how we want to work with you, someone needs to be sitting at the door and saying, you can't do it this way. This is how it works. And that change is what we are seeing as an opportunity for us to help build a more, you know how you need people at that door, as I said, you need people on the table saying, this is how it's done. We need to train the people, and that's how it's affecting what we're doing. We see the opportunity in building the next generation of people who will decide how best to approach this industry and how best to monetize the structure that currently exists instead of always trying to copy and paste those processes. So I see that as a solution that has become a problem that has now become an opportunity for us to solve using the Music Business Academy for Africa.
And how does that work then in terms of, you've identified this need for people to be connectors, if you like, and saying, okay, outwardly looking, so to connect with the outside world and say, actually, this is how it works. We are the experts. Let us show you. Now, that's obviously beneficial. How many of those people do you need? Because they need to sort of connect with the industry on the ground, the local industry. They need to understand that and work there. And then they need to connect with other African markets, and they also need to connect with the outside world. So what is the scale of your task? How many people do you... I mean, I don't need a number necessarily, but are you looking to build a huge group of people who can do this? Right
now, the global music industry is becoming smaller, but bigger at the same time. Smaller in the sense that it's easy to just connect, but bigger in the sense that because it's easy to connect, you're identifying new grounds to conquer, new grounds to penetrate and to enter. But what we're seeing here is, first of all, the reason we're building this entire process is because we need people who understand how it works so we can build local successful businesses. Right now, the majority we're catching up. So the major revenue streams are in the UK, in America, they're international. But we need to build local business that can do international business so that the money comes and stays in the local economy. And that's how you can build an ecosystem that actually works and benefits the players within it. So that's the first step. We need people who understand how it works. The second step is we need people who can then transfer that knowledge across the continent and build bridges across the continent. And then we can look internationally in terms of expanding. So how many do we need? We need a lot. We know that currently Africa's median age is 19.7, which is really, really young. And we currently do have the highest birth rates in the world and the youngest, population. But it's going to get, should I say better? It's going to get better because between now and the 2050s, if the birth rate stays as it is, you're going to have a large amount, if not a large percentage, if not 90%, maybe 80% of the creative content needed globally coming from here. And so if we're going to get to that point, we need to know that the young people who are training now will be sitting in positions in 20, 25 years with the knowledge that they've gained to ensure that they safeguard the content that's being created and create fair deals with global markets to say, look, we're not saying don't come and do business. We're saying, how do we ensure that it's mutually beneficial? We need people knowing how to have those conversations, and we need to start teaching them how to do that now.
And just to jump in here, if you're finding this kind of interview useful and you crave more of this sort of in-depth news and trusted analysis and so on waiting for you in your inbox every morning, as well as access to all of Music Ally's industry-leading reports, head on over to musically.com/subscribe. Indie labels, artist managers, employees of CMOs or publishers might be eligible for one of our sponsored complimentary subscriptions as well. So head on over to musically.com/subscribe to find out more. Okay, let's go back to Elizabeth and Godwin. This expansion of knowledge and skills is really important. Do you find that goes hand in hand with the sort of strengthening of infrastructure, whether that's data infrastructure, technical infrastructure of internet, for music streaming and marketing and communication? Is that something which is happening sort of in step?
I don't think it's happening all at the same time. I think, everything that's happening in terms of just infrastructure, especially with the tech industry, has definitely helped the music industry. But I think one area that we still feel is lacking is the policy and the implementation of policy, for example. But what we believe is that from just educating and empowering the younger generation, we will be able to push for better policies that will help the music industry sustain itself and grow. And also, I think the governments are starting to pay a little bit more attention to the creative industries. They're seeing that there's immense growth with, the likes of Burna Boy winning Grammys and Wizkid, charting on the Billboard, for example. The governments are noticing that there is a lot of potential in the creative industries, and some of them are paying attention. But we feel that with education and with expanding knowledge to young people, it will kind of encourage the government to pay more attention and be able to help.
Yeah, I also think because this platform never existed, right? A lot of the people in government who should know what they're supposed to do have struggled to understand how the industry works. So if we go to them and we start telling them, this is what you need to do, it sounds like gibberish. So there needs to be some orientation before the requests are made, so they have an understanding of what we want and why we want it and how it benefits them. If we're going to lobby, how do we get the transport ministry to come on board? How do we get the health ministry to come on board and help us ensure that those policies that we're asking legislature to put in place will benefit the Ministry of Health, will benefit the Ministry of Works and Housing and Transport, etc. Once we are able to build a community of people who ask the right questions and know what to say, we'll begin to form our statements more clearly and ask the right things. Another example is with more informed people, they will know what to demand from platforms like collecting societies within the country and within the continent. And they're able to say, how does a collecting society work, and how can I ensure that what's happening in this collecting society benefits me or benefits my talent or benefits the artist signed onto my label. So it's all connected, and it's like a web. So if we can move one thing forward and we've connected properly, everything else moves with it.
Yeah. We can get an idea now of the scale of your task, which is huge. It's pushing everything forward at the same time. But I guess it's about building momentum. I guess once you're going, things will start to move more quickly, as you say, as that sort of information base and the understanding grows.
We do hope that more people set up more academies, because we can't do it ourselves, right? So we've come in to show people it's possible. We had 190 people from across the continent last year. It's possible, but we can't do it alone. There's a massive, and we're happy to help people set up, because for me, it's I'm not in education. I'm a talent manager who just got frustrated with how badly things were done and looked for a solution. But if we have more people teaching, I can't teach 10,000 people. If we have more people coming in, we can then reach them. Every artist, this is the best way to describe it, what we're doing. Every time there's a program developing artists and talents and writers and producers, etc., and we've trained thousands of them, right? But you see, for every artist or producer or writer that is mildly successful, he or she creates 3 jobs, at least 3 jobs, right? Who's training those people? So if we have 1,000 mildly successful writers and producers and artists, we've created 3,000 jobs. Who's training those guys, right? And that's really what we are focused on. Like, we need to ensure that as we build this employment opportunity, we're putting the right people there.
Well, let's talk about that education then, because as you say, you're not an educator, but you're very persuasive when you talk, so you're educating me at least. So how do you do this development then with the people that take part in whether it's your academy or other ones that follow? What are the skills you give them? How do you do it, and who gives it to them?
So the best way to describe the program is, the saying, those who can't teach and those who can do. Well, we believe that those who can should teach what they do. And so what we do is we find industry players who are currently, who can also articulate their job descriptions properly. We bring them into the program and we have them teach the guys. So the format is, we have a recorded video, and the recorded video gives you the basics. It's what is publishing, what is this, what is that. But we then have live sessions with guests who are working in the industry, coming to tell you, well, this thing that we just told you what it is, here is how you apply it. Here is how you use it. Here is how you monetize it. So we do that we have theoretical sessions for about 3 months. And then within that period, we assign talents to the students. So as they learn, they practice. And so they finish the program with an EP. Last year, we did 2 EPs. This year, we're going to do 1 because we want to make sure that we focus and market properly. But it's really about, because they don't have anywhere to learn. And even worse, they don't have anywhere to practice. So what we do is we teach them, and then we give them an opportunity to practice what they're learning. So by the time they're done with the program, they have some sort of work experience or reference point when they're working in a label, working with a management agency or an A&R company or a publishing agency, whatever they choose to go into. They can see how it works. They know what contracts mean. They know what A&Ring processes mean. They know what artist development or artist discovery, assessment and development means, or IP valuation. And they can teach their bosses when they get into those spaces.
Right. Elizabeth, your new role is program director. So what does that involve, and how do you fit into this equation?
So essentially, my new role really involves me working directly with Godwin and also some of our partners. We're working with Dr. Carlos Chirinos, who's the head of music and social labs at New York University, to develop a strong curriculum. So my new role basically ensures that I work directly with Dr. Carlos to develop the right curriculum, but also to coordinate the teachings every week. So I will be taking on some of the live sessions, hosting some of the live sessions, and also teaching some of the classes with Godwin. Godwin has perfectly just created this kind of template and structure that we can follow, but also a template and structure that can be developed, because as the industry grows, what we teach also will kind of develop with it, and we'll be able to modify and formulate new curriculums every year. So my role really just requires me to get down to the basics, to get down to the knowledge that needs to be passed down, and to facilitate the platform for the students to learn.
She's basically my boss now.
Right. Well, it's good to know the power structure, isn't it? It's important you know who to report to. when these students, one of the key things here then is educating these students and then moving them into industry. So what is the reaction from existing industry when your students move into it?
The feedback has been amazing. I have students who currently, the head of Ndundo, for example, is a student. The three partners who run Double Sis, who managed Tenny the Entertainer, and other very amazing talents. They're all my students. I recently got approached by a major distro company platform asking me to help them source an artist relations manager from my cohort. So we also do have internship opportunities. So we have from the major labels, the major management companies and agents reaching out to say, okay, can you send us students to intern and we can pick people to employ. So we're developing that. We're making it as big as possible so more people can get opportunities to intern and possibly get jobs from there. So we're trying to create a seamless connection from classroom into actual jobs.
I think one other thing that Godwin didn't actually mention is that at the end of the program, there's a graduation. And it's one of the most exciting parts of it for the students and also for people on the outside as well, because once students then present their kind of certificate that they've kind of graduated from Godwin Tom's Music Business Academy, it's respected a lot more, and people know that they are well informed and they're coming in with the right knowledge just because they've been to the academy.
I mean, now is an exciting time. But as you look ahead, it's going to get more exciting as all these things that you've said are going to happen. So what excites you most individually when the African music industries are developing at a rapid pace? So what about it really are you looking forward to?
It took me 7 years to realize some very basic things about my business. What we are doing now is we're helping these young guys figure it out when they start. And so that cuts off 3 years of unnecessary strife. And so what I'm most excited about is seeing the people who go through these programs coming out and providing solutions within the industry, within the market, and seeing that those results are effective, are impactful, and we can say that, because I was laughing the other day. Someone said to me, go on LinkedIn and search Music Business Academy for Africa. And you'll be shocked at how many of your students have put it as their, part of their education on their LinkedIn. Some people have put it as education, and because they did some work, they've put it as work experience as well on the LinkedIn as well. So, we're seeing that people are paying more attention to the education. And that's a good thing, because that's the only way we can get out of the situation we're in now. So I'm excited about that. But more importantly, I'm excited because if we do this properly, we would get the business to catch up with the creative part. And that's what needs to happen for this entire thing, this Afrobeat noise everyone's making right now, to make absolute sense to the ecosystem.
And what about you, Elizabeth?
What I'm really excited about is to see the impacts that the creative and cultural industries and the music industry can have on everything else in Africa, right? From infrastructure to the tourism industry, to culture, to the fashion, arts. It's just, for me, just seeing how this industry of ours, this music industry, and us being able to educate and create employment opportunities and inform people how this can impact on everything else in Africa. Maybe I like to say that if we get this right, we'll essentially be giving so many other industries in Africa the template of what can be done to also grow those industries and to also just develop the continent a lot more at a quicker rate than it's currently going. So I hope that, we're able to kind of, again, the spider web effect where just this growing can affect everything else to catch up and grow as well.
And I will put next to the podcast all the links to Music Business Academy for Africa, of course. And but if people are listening to this and they want to get in touch with you because they think this sounds like a good thing that I could do with some of these students working for me, how should they get in touch with you?
Well, we have email addresses. There is register@musicbusinessafrica.org. There's info@musicbusinessafrica.org. But one of the best ways to reach us is via social media. So we have a lot of companies that we're using that work together. So you could reach us through CIFA, which is our company. So that's the Creative Industries Initiative for Africa. Or you could reach us through MBA for Africa social media.
I will put some links around this, and please, I encourage you out there to go and investigate further and see the great work that's happening there at the Music Business Academy for Africa. And yeah, thank you both for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
So, huge thanks to Godwin Tom and Elizabeth Shabowali for talking to us about that fascinating development of talent there in West Africa and across Africa itself. And if you found that useful, you can investigate further the kind of work they're doing and the people they're working with and what their hopes and ambitions are behind all that hard work that they're doing. If you also want to share that podcast on with other people you think will find it useful, please do. And if you'd like to get in touch with me, you're very welcome. It's joe@musically.com. We also have a free weekly email called The Knowledge, which appropriately rounds up bits and pieces of interesting and useful information, analysis, news, marketing, insight, and skills, all pulled from Music Ally's wider services. So sign up, receive it every Friday, and impress your friends. Links to that and everything that we talked about with Elizabeth and Godwin are in the description as always. So that's it from me, Joe Sparrow, editor of Music Ally. Thank you very much for joining us as always. And until next time, farewell.